What do you think of the possibility of Kevin Love going to the Cavs? Would you trade Wiggins for him? And if you would trade for him, does it make them a championship contender right away?
It does, and there are two destinations for Kevin Love. It's the Golden State Warriors if they decide to part with Klay Thompson. I'm in the mind state that I wouldn't break up their backcourt of the Splash Brothers of he and Steph Curry. So I think the likely deal is going to be with the Cavs, and you have a number one pick. You're in Minnesota. He's in the first year of his contract. You have an opportunity to groom somebody that we talked about a handful of years ago that may be a star. So that may be an attractive piece for the Minnesota Timberwolves because Kevin Love is a terrific player.
Now, what would they end up losing in Wiggins? What kind of player do you think he could be?
Well, Kevin Love is 26 and 12 right now. He's 25 years old. He, along with Blake Griffin, LaMarcus Aldridge, a couple other players, obviously Tim Duncan, are right up there as being the top power forwards in the league. I think Wiggins has the potential to be a multiple all-star. I don't know if he's going to be in the class of other number one picks like LeBron James or Shaquille O'Neal or Tim Duncan, but I am seeing promise from him. But if I had to trade Kevin Love for Andrew Wiggins, that's something that I personally would do in a heartbeat.
Now, it's so funny because so many people that are Knicks fans will wait till Kevin Love becomes a free agent, and my feel is that he's never going to become a free agent. Anybody that trades for him is going to have to give up a lot, and anybody that gives up a lot, whether it's Golden State or Minnesota, or Cleveland, should I say, is going to sign him to a long-term deal. So he's never going to be part of the solution for the Knicks.
I agree, and you bring back Melo, you have Derek Fisher, you have Phil Jackson in the front office. The attractive pieces are going to be expiring contracts. Amari Stoudemire, Andrea Bargnani. I see a player like Rajon Rondo finding his way to New York. I think Kevin Love is a long shot and highly unlikely.
How about Aldridge?
He didn't sign his extension, but he plays with Damian Lillard. He talked about really wanting to be in Portland and not signing that extension because he wanted to get a 5-year deal instead of 4. Right now, I think he's projected to still stay in Portland.
All right, so where do we break down the East right now? Where are the Knicks in the Eastern Conference in your mind?
Well, the Chicago Bulls, I like what they did up front. You get a healthy Rose back, hopefully, if you're them. He was an MVP in the last few seasons. The only MVP besides Kevin Durant and LeBron James in the last 6 years. He's that good. Noah was first-team All-NBA. Tibbs has become one of the top coaches in the league. I like what they did by drafting McDermott and adding Gasol. I think the Bulls on paper are the best team in the East. You got to see what's going to happen with Indiana. They lost Lance Stevenson. What are they going to do with Roy Hibbert? You want to see Paul George improve, and Washington and the Raptors are all in the conversation. So I see the Knicks as a playoff team. I don't see them as a team that's in the top 4 just yet.
Do you believe that the Nets have dropped out of maybe the top 8 with not signing Paul Pierce?
It depends on the health of Brook Lopez. He is a 20-point center, and they're hard to find in today's game. Nowadays you could be 7 foot, and if you can walk and chew gum, you can have a job. Brook Lopez can actually do something offensively. Darren Williams has been a disappointment as a maximum contract player. I don't see the Nets as a contender, possibly not even a playoff team, depending on the moves they make and what, losing Sean Livingston, losing Paul Pierce. I just don't think, and what's going to happen with KG in the last year of his deal with that team, I don't see them as a viable candidate.
We're talking with Jalen Rose right here on ESPN New York 98.7 FM. One thing about the expiring contracts, Jalen, you mentioned with the Knicks, with Bargnani and Stoudemire, that's a big deal. But you could have all the cap space in the world, and all it is air. You have to convince somebody to come. Look at what the Lakers did. The Lakers couldn't get Carmelo to come, and they maxed him out. They have to end up settling for Carlos Boozer, who was ended up being, just let go by the Bulls, amnestied by them. So just because you have cap space doesn't mean you can get somebody to come and play with you.
I agree, Michael. You make a terrific point. If you're looking at the Knicks' history and notable free agents they were able to sign outright, Amari Stoudemire comes to mind, and the issues that the Phoenix Suns had with his knees ended up playing out with the New York Knicks, and thus him not really earning the maximum contract that he has. And also, how many superstar caliber players are there truly in the league? So if you can't get Aldridge or Love, you're trying to see, hopefully, is Kevin Durant going to leave? Is Russell Westbrook going to leave? You start grasping for straws. I mean, it's very hard to have a signature franchise player. And I know a lot of people throw the term superstar around a lot, but there are not as many as people really believe. So for the Knicks, it'll be very important. To me, I think they should just build out their roster and try to build a quality team, as opposed to going for the big name, big signing, big splash where you throw money at the situation.
You've got playoff teams from last year like Washington and Charlotte and Toronto. I mean, of those teams, which one is the scariest to you that maybe could maybe take that next step?
Washington, they brought back Gortat. They have Nene, John Wall, and Bradley Beal in the backcourt. They're going to miss Trevor Ariza, but Paul Pierce is going to be a player they can throw the basketball to in the clutch to make shots or make plays for somebody else. So I think they're a team that can make moves. It's great for Toronto that they brought back, Lowry at the front, more consistency, a guy that can drop the basketball into and give them offense and create balance. So in that case, I'll have to get the Washington Wizards to edge, and I'm really planning on the improvement of Bradley Beal and John Wall in particular.
One thing that struck me is I think the Pacers really suffered a loss with Lance Stevenson. I know he was a handful, blowing in LeBron's ear, whatever the case may be. That's a loss. That kid could play.
He really can play, and he led the league in triple-doubles. And he was a playmaker, not only initiating offense for himself and getting assists to teammates, but he's one of the league leaders in what we call hockey assists, giving up a good shot to give a great shot. And he was continuing to mature as a player. That is going to be a significant loss. I'm surprised they didn't find a way to keep him in the fold.
I just wonder how much of that had to do with the fact he didn't get a lot of support with his antics with LeBron James in the playoffs last year from his teammates.
When you do those kind of antics, guys can't really support you too much. It's like having a relative or a friend that you know is making poor decisions. You just put your arm around them or put your hand in the pile and hope they figure out a way to get it right. But the antics that he exhibited, putting his head in the heat huddle and blowing in LeBron's ear, it just shows the poise of LeBron James. Because I don't care if you're playing at the backyard, the YMCA, or at the park, somebody comes and blowing your ear. Normally you give them a little elbow, a little chicken wing. I'm surprised LBJ didn't do that.
Great stuff as always. Thank you so much, Jalen.
My pleasure. I appreciate you guys having me on.